We had a very pleasant talk yesterday in the afternoon about fashion, trust and transparency. Today we will have a equally pleasant talk, I hope, about fashion, tech and transformation. And thank you also to the panelists who have come here for this occasion. François from Kering, Elin from H&M Group, yeah. You're so many different constellations at H&M, so it's difficult to keep track of you. We have Marilyn from Ellen MacArthur Foundation and the Circular Fashion Initiative, more specifically, right? Make Fashion Circular, yeah. And Oskar Juhlin from Stockholm University. And of course my colleague Anna Lidström from the Swedish School of Textiles and the Retextile research platform. I have made the panelists prepare a little bit of a statement to give their view on fashion technology and transformation. So, for example, what opportunities does technology provide to transform these textile value chains? What are the challenges in this transformation? And very importantly, the humanistic or social perspectives on this transformation. So, François, I ask you to start.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me in this remarkable place and very cozy room. So I'm François-Xavier Morvan. I'm Sustainability Performance Manager at Kering. Perhaps one word for the one who are not familiar with Kering. So Kering is a global luxury player. We develop fashion, luxury good, and watches and jewelry brand such as Gucci, Bottega Veneta, Saint Laurent, Balenciaga, Boucheron, or Pomellato, to name a few. And actually, this 3-minute intro is not really around the topics you asked, but I think it's important to set the scene and explain why sustainability matters for the group and what we do in terms of innovation and sustainability. Because we think, we strongly believe at Kering that sustainability and luxury is one and the same. Because for us, sustainability is inherent to the quality of the product, and of course, it plays a very strong role in the business strategy. And because sustainability is often around changing the paradigm, disruptive and new approach, innovation plays a key role within our sustainability strategy. It's actually the third pillar of the strategy: care, collaborate, create. And when we talk about technology, of course, there is many different things: circular economy, artificial intelligence, digital, many different topics that all materialize in concrete stuff at Kering. But this morning, there is one thing I wanted to focus on, which is a tool that we have. It's called the Environmental Profit and Loss Account. It's a pioneering management tool, and when we have more than 3 minutes, I can explain a bit more in detail what it means for Kering. But the idea is to measure and monetize the environmental impact of our activities, not only for our operations, but through the entire value chain. And this is really those two words. So in terms of scope, it's very innovative. The fact that we take into account the whole life cycle of the activities. So if I take a very concrete example, if you sell a leather bag, you can just consider the site you own, or you can consider the whole life cycle. So this is leather. So at the beginning of the chain, you have a cow in the field, and you have many different processes before selling the product, the finished product in your store. So this is the first idea, really, in terms of scope. It's something that is very innovative, and the fact that we monetize the impact. So we don't talk about tons of CO2, waste, cubic meter of water. We transform everything into euro, with quite a complicated approach, so that it's something that business understand, and we can bring that to the executive agenda or even to the board of director. And I will leave the floor.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And we're gonna come back to the EPNL account. Yeah, and yeah, thank you very much. Elin, please.
Thank you. So, in order to cater for the growing population and for future generations to come, we really have to innovate beyond imagination, I would say, in the fashion industry. And we have to rethink the whole fashion system, and we need to go into a systemic change for the whole industry, and meaning that we have to go from a linear to a circular production system and economy. And the H&M Group has quite bold ambitions here. So we have an ambition to be climate positive by 2040 and to be circular by 2030. And that goes for the whole group and all the brands within the portfolio. So in order to achieve that, we really need to innovate a lot, and we need to be super open to all kinds of technology and new materials, and I mean there is so much happening now within technology, such as blockchain and AI, and those are really becoming key enablers for us in our transformation, I would say. And there are technical possibilities both for us as producers and industry. I mean, we can use technology in all kinds of ways to reduce slack in the supply chain, to make better allocations, pricing. There is, for example, one of our explorative labs. They have come up with a solution, a VR solution, basically for where designers and buyers and suppliers can go into the same virtual room to discuss a garment and to like see all the sustainability issues regarding that garment in the same time. So imagine all the samples that can be saved by the technology in that aspect. And there are also a lot of possibilities for the customer when it comes to technology to make better decisions, better fitting, better knowledge, better taking care of their garments. So there is a lot of possibilities also for the customers. But the challenges, I mean, there are a lot of challenges as well, obviously, and I think the most important one for us right now is ethical AI and all the implications that can be made with amplified intelligence or artificial intelligence. So that would be the most important, I would say, sustainability issue for the coming years, to use it in a responsible way.
Thank you, Elin. We will come back to the ethical perspectives on AI, I think, a little bit more, and come back to the ethical perspectives of technology and transformation in general, of course. So, Anna, please give your statement.
I'm here as a representative for the textile platform research and also for this national Swedish platform working with sustainable fashion and textiles, and what we do there is to work with the whole value chain and develop circularity within, as I said, the whole value chain. And my perspective on this is the design task and the design perspective. So how can, and I think one crucial part here is to develop alternative design methods that are based on other types of material than rolls of fabric, basically. So how can we work with things that are already produced and work to base new design upon old design and parts of garments, surplus production and post-consumer waste in order to use the materials we have at most before we recycle them on a fiber level. And here I think technology has a great role to play in sorting, and I mean there's a lot of initiatives going on about the fibers and composition of garments. But I think also if we could use technique in order to take the style and the that type of quality within garments in order for us to produce new products out of the old ones and also then save resources. So I think there's my perspective.
So thank you, Anna. I leave the word to Oskar now.
Thank you. I'm a professor at the computer science department. So one of the challenges in your industry, I think, is to have production that meets demands. So produce what customers are going to buy. Even closer, like that. It's like eating it. Okay. The market it's really fluctuating. You know that, like the collections are short-lived. Consumer demands are shifting all the time, and in the end, the result is like a mismatch between production and demand, and you have like sales of 39%. There's some statistics in Sweden saying that. So you're producing in a very special market. I think the opportunities we are seeing forward is in computers. I think that what we call data analytics and the industry has started to use that now, like Inditex and H&M, but they've started to use the first generation. What is coming now is, you've mentioned the term AI. For instance, and I think in specifics, computer vision. So very close now, and actually already computers are starting to be able to look at an image and understand it in terms of fashion, what types of garment it is, what kinds of style, color, all these kinds of variation. And when computers can start to look at fashion and start to understand it, you can do a lot of things. And then you can do trend analysis, style recommendation, fitting. You can do all sorts of stuff. Let me now come to the challenge we're living with. I worked as a computer scientist, as a researcher with a lot of companies like Ericsson, Sony, IKEA. And one of the things that we do when we work as computer science researchers, we work long term. We need resources to develop over time. It's very costly to develop these machines. Training a computer to see obviously takes time in terms of research. And IT is a profitable business. And fashion is a profitable business, but in another sense. You work in a very different way. So for me, the challenge is to find the ways that we get the kind of connection between the two industries. I think then we can do a lot of innovation, solve a lot of problems. But this is the key thing. And I haven't really seen how we should get that going yet. But I really hope we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oskar. And now, Marilyn.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Marilyn. I work for the Ellen MacArthur Foundation at the Make Fashion Circular initiative. So I will first explain, for those of you who are not familiar, what the Make Fashion Circular is trying to achieve. So actually, H&M is one of our core partners, so there are loads of common themes. But in a sense, we published a report last year called A New Textiles Economy, where we laid out the possibilities of a new textiles economy based on the principles of circular economy, which is that an economy that is regenerative and restorative by design. And out of that, we gain loads of momentum because we outline the data points and proof points of why it was like a call to action for the industry in terms of what needed to change. So right now, there are $500 billion lost every year because of garments barely used and rarely recycled. So that's like a huge amount of value that the entire system is losing every year. So we have now moved to a second phase. So after the report was published, we moved to a second phase, which is the one that we are now, that is called Make Fashion Circular. So we have engaged with about 50 participant organizations throughout the value chain. That's from like manufacturers to brands, recyclers, and even what we called enablers, like P&G and HSBC. Because even though they're not directly within the value chain, they are indirectly, they have indirect kind of like power, I guess, to also make this shift within the industry. So within the initiative right now, we have 3 different focus areas to make change happen. The first one is for brands, for organizations to implement new business models that increase clothing use. The second one is to phase out toxic materials, so for all the inputs to be renewable and safe and renewable inputs. And the third one is to increase solutions so that all clothes are turned into new. Because right now, as the system currently is, only 1% of all the clothes in the world are effectively recycled back into the system. And so 14% of all the garments and materials are recycled, out of which only about 5% gets lost into, in the process of being recycled. The remaining about 10% get recycled, but into stuffing or, I don't know, like mattress fluff, which is not effective at the end. And then only 1% gets effectively recycled back into the system. So that means that just because of not being able to recycle clothes, there are about $100 billion US dollars lost every year. So that's our third focus area, solutions so that all clothes are turned into new. In terms of technology and this whole system, we are from the perspective that technology as itself doesn't do much. It's about the purpose that you put behind it. So it's how do you use technology as an enabler to make this system change. So for now, we do have technology and AI and data analytics and artificial intelligence that is emerging, but the focus has been to make the economy more efficient. So it's how do you streamline, how do you make it faster, and that has increased production a lot, like exponentially over the last decade. So we are from this mentality that it is not about making the system efficient or more efficient, but rather how do you make it more effective in terms of how do you use that technology to make sure that there are more materials that are being recycled. How do you increase, like the recycling capabilities? Because right now, loads of the materials cannot be effectively recycled because the technology to break down those garments into its constituent parts is not there. So how do you increase investment to enable that? Then what about not making it faster, but trying to use, restorative or renewable energy to produce or manufacture garments. So what he was talking about, trying to match demand with supply, that would also enable brands to minimize unused stock. So their possibilities are endless, and we don't think that there is a single best way to use technology, and what is best for some brands might not be best for some others. So it is not an objective matter or subject, but yeah, that's what we're here to discuss, I guess.
Okay, thank you all for those very interesting opening statements. I've noted some things that I would like to come back to you and ask more about. Thank you, Marilyn, very much for the data. I did not know that it was so little, only 1% that was actually recycled. So I suppose that Anna and I and Adrian, who work in the Retextile project, have some tasks ahead of us. Yeah, so and I was going to start with François on the EP and environmental profit and loss tool, and because I saw on your on your web page that creativity is the heart of sustainability for caring. And you also have this very quantitative environmental profit and loss tool. So you have the creativity and you have the quantitative thing. So how do you marry those two? How do you combine data and creativity to push further transformation? Yeah, sorry.
Yes, thank you. It's a good question. Actually, everything is a bit intertwined because when you develop a tool such as DPNL, you need both to be creative in the way you can build it. So we heavily rely on technology because we have huge data sets. For specific materials such as precious stones, for example, you need very new technology like blockchain to assure the traceability. In the meantime, if you want to reduce the impact and change, for example, farming practices, it's not rocket science. It's more low-tech. So it's really a mix between using very basic principle like farming practices within the field, very fancy technology like blockchain to ensure full traceability, using fintech, so we are using internally the same software that finance is using, for example, to the consolidation of the tool, and to do scenario, because the aim at Kering, and I think you will agree with that, is not just to measure the impact, is really to have a starting point to reduce the impact, because we, as people in the fashion industry, we all rely on natural capital. So we all use cotton, cashmere, wool, leather. And if you don't account for this natural capital, then you don't have a way to reduce the impact and reduce the dependency on natural capital. So this is really the idea of ePNL. And I mean, first I told you that the two things that makes it quite innovative is the scope and the fact that we monetize the impact. It doesn't seem crazy like that, but I mean, considering the entire value chain is very different that other companies used to do, because a classical way of doing reporting and measuring your environmental impact is looking at the site that you own. So it's really the legal approach. So it means the impact of your stores, your offices, some production facility, if you own some. If you do this, you are covering 10% of the impact, because with the PNL we saw that what we call the operation, so these famous seats that we own, stores and so on, is 10% of the impact. And so if you do a classical reporting, classical approach, of course, you focus on 10% of the impact, which is already great, but you will focus on the packaging, on the energy efficiency of your stores, which is great, and we do that, but you just impact a small portion of your impact. And when we did first the PNL, it was so obvious that supply chain, 90% of the impact, and especially the first tier of the supply chain, what we call the tier 4, so the raw material production, so really the cattle and the cotton field and so on. This is where we have all the impact, and this is why we have so many actions around sustainable sourcing. And of course, the luxury industry is a bit different than the I mean, I won't say fast fashion, but I mean a bigger market, because the issue with us is not much around the volume. It's more about using intensive material. So, for example, when we talk about gold and brass and platinum, it's a very small quantity, but from an EPNL perspective, it's very intensive material. So, this is why we don't focus so much around circular economy and recycling, because there is already a very big second-hand market. But this is basically we really focus ourselves on the production, the first year, and the second part that was innovative, so the monetization approach. I won't get too much into the methodological detail, otherwise we spend the entire day around that, but just to give you an example, the fact that we transform everything into euro, we take into account the regional specificities and we avoid transport pollution. So for example, if you if you are very CO2 intensive, you want to reduce, of course, your CO2, you can launch an action, you will reduce your CO2, but in the meantime, you will impact your water pollution or water use. And so transforming everything into euro, then you have the entire, the holistic impact. So when you have an action, you can see the impact of the action around all the different parameters. And so you don't focus on just one topic, one impact. First thing that is interesting. Second thing, so the regional specificity. We own some tanneries. So as you know, tannery is very water intensive. We are using some chemicals. If this tannery is based in Switzerland, where you don't have an issue with resource availability, you don't have water scarcity, will factor differently the cost of a cubic meter of water. By opposition, if you have the same tannery in India, when we run the monetization approach, the cubic meter of water will be much more impactful. And so classical way of considering your impact, if you just look at the environmental KPI, so how much water you use, if your tannery in Switzerland uses 10 times more water than the one you have in India, of course you will focus on the one in Switzerland because it's your number one impact in terms of water use. When we run the P&L, then you have a euro impact of your water use, and your euro impact intensity of your tannery in India will be higher than your tannery in Switzerland. So it changes totally the way you prioritize your action and you allocate your resource. And to answer your question, because you had a question at the beginning, so the mix between this, so let's say classical approach and creativity, innovation, it's something that we translate in the target we have. So as I said, EPNL, the objective is not to spend years and years around methodology and being very, very precise. We need to have the full picture, where are the hotspots, and then we focus ourselves on this hotspot to reduce the impact, because this is what we all aim to do, I think, at the end, to be less intensive in terms of natural capital use. And so we very quickly we develop a target which is reducing the group EPNL by 40% by 2025, and so 40% seems a bit, perhaps not that much ambitious. But what we do to define this target is actually we look at all the different projects we have internally in terms of sustainable sourcing, new technology, innovation, and so on, and we try to see what would be the possible reduction, EPNL reduction, if we scale up everything. So we have some pilot project. If we would use this project for our entire sourcing of leather and cotton and so on, we would reduce between 20 and 25% the EPNL impact only. And so it means that the rest of the reduction, the rest of the target can be achieved via creativity, innovation, and really disruptive approach. Like we have a big partnership with Plug and Play, Fashion for Good. So it's a startup accelerator where each year we shortlist some startup that we work with internally to strengthen their business plan, their technology. We pilot test some of the solutions they develop internally, and it's really new technologies. Like for example, leather is most of your impact. Let's think about something like growing leather in a lab, or making leather out of mushroom. You have like dyeing solutions using bacteria, things like that. So it's really a mix between these two things.
Yeah, Elin, you and I, we spoke just earlier about this leather, mushroom leather. No,
grape leather or
grape
orange
leather.
peel.
Is that something that you have looked at too at Kering?
Yeah, I think it was more orange. Or a few years ago, we had like using the the skin of ananas, pineapple. So
yeah,
Pinatex, exactly. So a lot of different technologies today. It's still at really pilot phase. It's not easy to use it at a big scale. So, but it's great to have all this new solution and new ideas to test.
it is fantastic to use resource, not waste.
Yeah. So how far away do you think that those those technologies are this leather, for example? Is it and what are the difficulties in scaling? Is it getting raw material, or is it that the technology hasn't scaled at machine level yet?
I think there are a lot of challenges. But we want to use our size and scale to do that transformation and to help those startups, primarily the H&M Foundation and the Global Change Awards. I mean, there are definitely challenges with implying small innovations into big scale. And I think that there is a lot of kill your darlings in the process. But I think that it's fantastic to work with the small, innovative startups, and then we can help scaling it.
Yeah. One thing about those new innovations that are coming and circular economy in general is that, I mean, we can make any material, anything circular if we use enough energy and chemicals. So making things circular is not a problem. Sustainable circularity might be more challenging. So Marilyn, what is your take on sustainable circularity? Oh, it's a bit, the microphone logistics is difficult, so please excuse that.
Can you please explain further what you mean by sustainable circularity?
Yeah, so for example, that to make sure that we don't use, when we are approaching this circularity, when we're turning orange peel into leather, that we're not using dangerous chemicals or too much energy compared to normal leather manufacturing.
Yeah, it is really hard to strike the balance of what is more effective for your business and the environment. In terms of like innovation, as François was saying, there are plenty. I mean, even growing it in labs or in vertical farms, you know, like now there's this like.
Can you hold the microphone?
Sorry, you can grow plants now in vertical farmers in the middle of the city, which means that in theory you could get more resource. So it's not about it's not about what to do, but how do you do it and what do you want to achieve. So if it makes sense for your business model to use orange peel, then or whatever, or pineapple one, then of course you will invest on that, but it's not, so I guess that in the long term, what you need to put your resources in is in something that makes sense for your business model. So there's no right answer to like, how do you make circular, sustainable circularity? It's just what makes sense for you might not make sense for some other people. And the idea, I guess, is like, if you in theory change the entire system to a circular system, then whatever it's out there and whatever product you get as a consumer, as a customer, because you wouldn't be consuming anymore, you will be effectively customer of whatever you're buying. Then as a customer, whatever you purchase or service that you get, there will be no wrong choice. So meaning that in an ideal world, whatever brands are putting out there, whatever products are out there, should be okay for customers to purchase. So I think that's, so if you manage, it's not a single person, there's this idea of collaboration. There will not be ever a single person or company or institution that will change the system. So it's a matter of everyone working collaboratively, so then that system becomes circular. And if we achieve that, then we will be on a sustained circular mode, let's say. Sustained, not sustainable. We're trying to move away from the word sustainability so much because it has acquired throughout time such a negative connotation. So it's almost like telling someone, you really need to go on a diet and stop, like eating kind of thing. And that's not the point. So we're really trying to move away from that, like in the area that we're working on. So it's not about sustainability has this connotation that you have to become more sustainable. Immediately, everyone just goes, oh my God, what do I need to stop doing? Like, do I need to stop producing this? Do I need to stop using that? So it's this mentality they're trying to move away. It's not about sustainability. It's about having this circular mindset about, like, what is out there that you could do to make your business better? What can you make use of? What waste is there within your current system that you can reintroduce in your production, and so cut down costs so it's better for you and the customer, because the product that you're putting out there will be cheaper. So it's about a win-win situation. It's not about moving away from. It's how do you include what is already there for make your current business model more effective. So.
Yeah, thank you. Oskar, you can have the mic. Yeah. So one way, or a very good way of making the value chains less impactful, is to remove waste. Waste is most common, I think, overproduction. We usually say that you have 50% overproduction in the textile value chain. And with overproduction, we mean things that are not sold at full price. So a third, essentially, of the things that we manufacture are not sold at full price. So it's a lot of things we do could be considered waste. But Oskar, you have an interesting approach to reducing waste and to make sure that what we sell is going to be popular with the customers. And it's your Tinder for designers. Would you like to share just a little bit about what this app does, and so how we can use to reduce waste?
Yes, there's a lot of things you can learn in dating. So one of the ways we've used the Tinder app is to make available collections of clothes before they are produced. So instead, when you use our app, which is now available in all countries over the world in a test, together with a big Swedish company in fashion, it's called, if you have an iPhone, you can download it. It's called, if you look for Clother app, you can do it later if you want to. So anyway, so it is like, if you have tried Tinder, it's like the same thing, but you get pre-collections of stuff that is not yet produced. The best thing would be if it was like 3D images. The fashion industry is starting to stop using Illustrator in producing digital description and starting to use, for instance, 3D images. They're so realistic, so you can share them with customers. You just put out a collection that you imagine and ask people, do you like this? And then it's like you swipe left or right, pretty much like in Tinder. And then we pick up that data. And then we use the data, and you can use the data in traditional ways, and you can use it in combination with advanced data analytics. Then you get a really good understanding of what to put in production. Obviously, you can use this system together with the fashion show, whatever you want to do. But the idea is like before production.
Mm. Yeah. It's very good. Most of the research that I do is about removing waste. So we're building small factories, micro factories that only manufacture according to demand. So we have one in Borås now, where we can do most things, and we have tried it out, and it seems to be working. It's also a feasible solution to reduce waste. This manufacturing closer to the customer in general, how do you at Kering and H&M look at that? This one, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to start, because I don't really know how to answer this question actually. So.
No, I don't know how to answer either. Because we don't have any, any. Of course, we elaborate a lot. We have 3 explorative labs within the organization, exploring all kinds of solutions all the time. But there's nothing that I can, reveal today that we have been doing in that area recently. I think it's super interesting. I mean, with the speed factories, for example, coming up now, and you do robot sewing robots, and I think it's super interesting. And Adidas has done a lot of cool stuff there. So I think we have to be open to all the kind of technology out there, because we need it as enablers to help us reach our vision in a circular economy.
Thank you. Do you? I know that you're not doing this today, but do you see that there might be a potential in the future of manufacturing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, innovation in the manufacturing process for sure, making the manufacturing closer to the client. We had some tests, some example, like for example, in stores using 3D printing, so that customer could customize his pair of shoes and see the thing. Be created on their eyes, but I think when we look at the different area of impact, even if it's a major issue, but transport is not number one impact. So again, it's not really the direction we want to take. But if I can elaborate on the discussion we had around the app, like Tinder and things like that, but Closer, yeah. Based on Tinder, no? I think what is interesting today with technologies, you have both the top-down and bottom-up approach. So using the app to make something very complex and technical, such as DPNL, something you can actually use as a training tool or to raise awareness on topic, and this is exactly what we did. So this very technical and internal tool, we use a limited data set of our EPNL, and we have created a mobile app which is called My EPNL, very original. You know, creativity is at the heart of the business. Not for us. So you can download this, don't worry, it's free. And actually, it's a way for everybody, so a customer, a student for a fashion school, a buyer, to understand that your decision have impact on environmental impacts, and you can, via simple actions, so you're choosing different material, choosing different production location, you can act on reducing this impact. So I think this is why technology is so powerful today to really fight complexity, and so everybody could use very technical topic. And same thing, I think, very important around the target setting approach, because we all have big groups who are setting targets. But today, how can you say that our 40% EPNL reduction, for example, is it compatible with the limit, the limit of our planet, the limit of what the planet can provide each year and regenerate. So I think that's the next step. Today we are working on this topic with scientists, and there is a big momentum around that to define, to use the concept of planetary boundaries in the target setting. So we already have a concrete methodology for CO2. So we have now the tools to say that for carrying, for example, and this is what we did, we need to reduce CO2 footprint by, for us, by 50% by 2025 for operations. And today, science, and this is also the role of technology, to offer let's say something very scientific, very very technical, change it into something very operational, actionable for companies, for customers, for people, and this is very important, I think, for a company like us to be able to say, in your strategy, I want to reduce my environmental impact, but I want it to be compatible with the limit of the planet. Otherwise, if we just reduce by 20%, it's great, but it doesn't really change the problem. So I think it's technology play a key role in this also.
For sure, yeah. So this, what you talked about, is exactly what we want to do in the Textile project. We want to keep our fashion system within the planetary boundaries, of course. Yeah, and
good transition.
Yeah, and Anna here, my colleague, she's very good at adding the designer's perspective to the ideas we had. So when I come up with ideas, and then I think, okay, what is missing in this? And then I always try to think, what would Anna think? How would she approach this problem? And then I usually find another angle to it. And then I ask Anna about it, and then she finds a third angle. But anyway, so she's very good at adding the other perspective. And we're here now, we talk about technology, and I'm an engineer, Oskar, you're an engineer, Elin, I don't know your background, but... Behavioral science, well, that's good, that's, yeah, not an engineer. François, you're? Biology, and Marilyn? Sociology. Oh, so it's a good mix, but Anna and the other ones might share as well. But what perspectives do you think we technologists always miss when we speak about these bigger questions?
I think, like from listening to you now, one perspective I really do miss is that I think, and my perspective then is a fashion design perspective, since I'm a fashion designer and doing artistic research. I think that we need to look backward in order to look forward. And I think there is so much great things, how we've before made garments with seam allowance, like really analog techniques. And speaking about modularity or making circular garments, I mean, just looking at old workwear where you had extra width that you, by the time your like belly grew, you could actually just unpick some seams and the jacket still fitted. I mean, that's like back to basics. I mean, I think we're looking too much into that we have to sort of invent something new and then that will be circular. But I mean, so I think looking into this analog craft techniques of dealing with fabrics and the product, I think we really need to reinvent that again. But also, I mean, we speak about like Pinatex or this fiber recycling, but the scope in between, the waste that's already produced and considered to be like dead, or we turn away, we don't look even at it because it's last season. I mean, there is still so much potential in those products. And as a designer, to look into that and using the redesign methods and also remixing, I think styling here has a great potential of remixing different dead stock, and that's creating new brands and adding new value without even producing anything new. So that's really saving energy and chemicals. And I mean, we don't even need to reproduce. It's all about finding new connections between different types of dead stock and also presenting that in another way to customers. And I think that's in the sourcing and in the presentation of new fashion or expressions. I think we have technology, that could play a role, but I think still that the design development should be quite analog, because we've done clever solutions in the past, and I think we should highlight that and also again challenge also the way that we view material and what is considered to be valued. I mean, is it a zipper or a placket or a collar stand, or is it the actual Egyptian cotton in the material? What can it be? I mean, there is several things to detect here and to also work with from a design perspective, and to put together into new designs.
Yeah. So if you could choose very freely, what technology do you as a designer miss in this discussion about transformation into more sustainable or circular value chains?
Yeah, I think one technology is to be able to source by style and color and shape. There are several projects going on with detecting fiber compositions, but if we could use technology in order to source a specific type of style, for instance, or look, that could be a resource for designers to be able to work with and have like 5,000 of one garment looking in the same way and then making new production out of that. So that's one thing. But also like technology in how to unpick seams or use other threads, so you can disassemble parts and a whole garment or part of a garment. That type of technique that enables the craft to move forward, I think, is I would really appreciate to work with.
Yeah, we had an interesting meeting with this company, Rescotex. Yeah, the other day. They have dissolvable thread. You use heat to...
Yeah, because that's also what we, in our common projects within the retextile, where we really base new design upon old design, like a garment-to-garment perspective in the circularity. I think the unpicking is and the cutting of garment parts is really the crucial, like time-consuming part of the process. And I think if that could be developed further, so it would be easier to unpick things in order to also put them together in new systems, I think that would be, really a crucial thing.
We saw that a lot, and we also saw that, of course, in the retextile flows, all manual handling is very difficult. So also cutting into new garments is very expensive.
Yeah, and since this is facts we know, of course we can challenge them and make design products with this in mind and still make new design. But maybe we have to look into making more straighter seams or making less seams or making, anyway, challenge the design perspective and also the product and the use of the product. How can we have this design service and we have take-back schemes for the products, but we still can provide a specific brand's customers with new design from that brand without using new raw fibers or virgin fibers. It's also about that type of service design that we really need to look into.
Yes, for sure.
Different types of add-ons, basically.
Yeah. Elin, you made a very interesting project on the visual side or styling side with the Holo. Now I forgot the Holo Me app, which is an augmented reality app.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you like to share a little bit about that app, but also, so how do we make sure that we are not using that app for pushing out more unnecessary products, but using it for a good purpose?
Yeah, so the HoloMe app, that was an experience that we made together with Monkey, the brand. And so basically it was working with a small startup, a British startup, in order to help the customers to get a better perception of the garment and to get a better experience and to make better decisions. So basically, you could place the model or the garment in the room, like with the mixed reality or a hologram experience, basically 3D experience. So you could just hold your iPhone like this or your smartphone and place the model and the garment in the room here, and you can go closely and you can look at how it fits and the seams and the garment in a more close way.
Yeah. I think this type of technology, visualization technology, can help a lot. Anna and I talked a lot about how styling can be seen as a sustainable practice. And Anna, what do you think about apps that can help people with their styling? And
I think it's really interesting, and also I think when speaking about styling, it can really be about the small details. That's often what I've been working a lot with the secondhand businesses in Sweden, and what I found also, like for instance, why customers don't know what to find in secondhand stores is also because they don't know how to style. And that could be like actually not looking into a specific size, but a specific color, and also when you try the garment, just like how many buttons should I unbutton, or should I tuck it in my pants, or should I unfold the sleeve? It's often quite small details that set a tone or a feeling of the wearer of the garments. So in that sense also, I think the styling of just reminding people of just try to, fold your pants or use a scarf. It could be just about small things, but also really like more the whole outfit as well. I think it's a really interesting perspective, but also to be able to, like for a designer to be able to communicate with the customer how this. I mean, there's a lot of filters between buyers and showrooms and finally like a store and then a customer in the end. I think there is a lot of filters there when the initial information from the idea from the designer, how things were supposed to be put together. I think in that sense also this type of application could really help to the designer to communicate directly with the consumer, like this is how it's supposed to be put together in order for the best outcome, for instance. That could also be another approach.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And so all these systems that we speak about, they generate huge amounts of data. And a lot of this data becomes proprietary, owned by a company or something like that. But I'm sure that this data could be made very useful for creating circular systems. So, Marilyn, how do you at Ellen MacArthur Foundation and make fashion circular, how do you work with data to create circular economies?
We don't directly work with data. I mean, it's like the companies that need to work with that data, not us. We only, I mean, we do the background research in terms of like systemic change. In terms of how I see data, it's I think data is a huge, I mean, it's like a powerful tool that it is out there, and companies can use that to better understand their customers. And I think that's like the key value, that how we see data, because then, you know, understanding your customer will then inform which business models can you change or makes more sense for you to implement in order to start transitioning towards a circular economy. So I think if you understand what they value and what they don't, then that will ultimately feedback your business. But in terms of like I mean, we don't directly work with customer data.
Okay, yeah. Oskar, you had a...
Yeah, I don't agree that what we're talking about, the data we're talking when we talk about the business, that's big data. I mean, even if you take the entire data that large company that Inditex has, it's small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really small amounts of data. Like if you compare that with the amount of data that you would find on fashion blogs or Instagram, when you look at the images, that's big data. When you talk about videos of fashion, that's big data. That's and that's not owned by anyone.
No.
So the most amounts of fashion data is not owned by companies.
So how do we make use of this data?
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm saying. So that's one of the topics that we have ahead of us. And if we're gonna use it from a fashion perspective, then we need to get engaged in developing the technology that uses that. We can't think of, well, obviously you can, but I don't think it's a good idea to think about computer science as something external to fashion. Lots of other industries don't think about it. They kind of include it, like we include sewing, stitching. So you need to think about computing as a material among other materials and talk about it. And then you will engage with this, how to use these kind of massive amounts of data. That is now, like for instance, when you talk about styling, like when you see there was a like the first conference on AI for fashion was in London, KDD, this summer. So there's a one-day workshop. And then there was a company and research institutions. They were doing like styling. Like if you show computers a lot of styling examples, they learn how to style. Not as good as you, or maybe in 100 years. But they still start to do it, and then they can do it in a very easy way. When you're not around, they can do it. So there's a lot of things to do. So I just reacted as like, no, the data is not that much data that is owned by companies. Most of it is owned by, or is like shared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point there. Yeah, so that's a very good point. I was so now it's half an hour left. In a few minutes, I'm gonna leave it open to the visitors, to the audience, to ask a few questions. But before we do that, I'm gonna ask a few more questions, and you are all free to answer this. So it has a little bit to do with what H&M is doing with the Google project. But technology is always moving closer to us. If we look at the fast fashion revolution in the 80s, it was very much driven by point-of-sale systems that were as close to the customer as it could be back then. Now we are all carrying things like this, and they listen to us all the time. We all have Google, not everybody, but some people have Google Assistant, Amazon Echo, and Apple Home in our homes, and they're constantly listening to us. And the technology companies are obviously booming because they have all the information about the consumer so close. But how can such technologies that we see help transform the value chains that we have into better ones? Who would like to answer that question?
How can technology transform?
Yeah, for example, like your Google project.
It's a very philosophical question, but I think that technology in general can help the industry forward if it's done in the right way and with ethical values behind. So what we did with Google was that we created a voice application, and the reason for doing that was to again help people make better decisions. So that was an inspirational styling help, interior design helping guidance application for voice. And the reason for doing that was to help the customers to make better decisions and to see how the products could be used in their homes. So I think that's but I mean sometimes we have to develop the technology, and then we can find different implications afterwards. And I mean, if we have the technology, we could easily put information behind it, like sustainability, like production, and all kinds of knowledge and intelligence. I mean, we can help customers make better decisions and more informed decisions with help of technology, I think. That was maybe not the best answer to your question, but
it was an open question. Yeah. So, Marilyn? I don't think there's a right answer, but what I can say is that I think technology has an immense potential in terms of linking the different participants of the value chain. So I will say an example that it's not 100% working just yet, but when they crack it, it's going to be amazing, I think. And the Hong Kong Research Institute of Textiles and Apparel, so Heike Rita, actually together with H&M, have developed this manufacturer in Hong Kong where, when it's working properly at least, people will just be able to go there with their old clothes, sit around for a couple of hours, and they will get new remanufactured clothes within those couple of hours that they can just take back home that same day. So for me, and I mean,
for me, that's incredible, because that means that this manufacturer plant has finally found a way to decompose its materials to its constituent parts and put it back together, like remanufacture it all within a matter of hours, through some kind of, I'm not an expert in technology, as you might already know, but like some kind of biological means of, I don't know, of breaking it down, all within a couple of hours, and then the customer can just walk away on the same day with new clothes made out of their old clothes. So I think this is this is an amazing example of how manufacturers can collaborate with brands. So that's like two different points of the value chain in order to create like this circular product, essentially, and offer it to the customer on the same spot. And I mean, I know it's a couple of hours, but people go shopping for a couple of hours anyways, and you can just make a community around it, right? Like you can just make like a cafe, and then people can just wait there and then have this sense of community of people that are just waiting for their clothes to be done. So there's a social aspect as well. So examples like these are exactly what we're looking for. So it's not about like the technology in itself, like the biological means of like recycling, but it's more about how you're using it and where and for what purpose. So I think that's, for me, like a great example of how can you move and engage the value chain into becoming more circular.
Yeah. Anna?
I just would like to remind also that, we need great designers that are bold and can show that and prove that we can do like amazing design and still be circular or sustainable. I would just like to remind of like Catherine Hamnett, Martin Malgiela, Vivian Westwood, a way of being an activism within sustainability, but also make great design, and also, we need to be inventive, and I wish for bold and great designers to take lead on this and show how things can look, because also it's important to highlight that being sustainable or working circular with textiles is not a specific expression. It's a method of dealing with textiles, basically.
Yeah.
So more bold designers.
More bold designers, yeah.
That we can trust.
A kind of far-out idea of fashion in the future has to do with the power of software. Lots of the innovation we have seen the last year is in software. It's like compute. It's not the hardware or computing. It's in the software. That's where you have patents. That's why you have Swedish companies with lots of patents, and IT companies. What is the role of software in fashion? Very small. I've talked about something. You can see it like data analytics. You can see it like first generation of data analytics within the companies now. But we could foresee software-driven design, fashion design, and I think like you have done in Borås for 10 years, like smart textiles. You've been thinking about like fabric, where the visual expression could be done by software. The most practical first step is with the accessories, like watches. You have like famous in fashion industry is the Apple Watch, but like Google Android watches is much more spread. So you have a surface on your body, here on the watch, that is a screen. And that kind of points to a future where you're wearing screens. And if you're wearing screens, you don't have a one-to-one connection between the screen and the visual expression, like we all have on our screens now. It's like you buy this with one expression, but in the future we will not. So then you can change your visual appearance. You can you don't need to throw away your screen. You just throw away the visual expression. Wouldn't that be more sustainable?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. Before we leave it to the audience, I have one more question for François. And you mentioned something in the beginning there that was interesting, I think. And you talked a little bit, I think, about how you use finance tech or fintech at the farmers level. Small.
So we use it more internally as a data analytics tool. So using the same tool, I mean, because the idea is to make a sustainability topic, environmental topic, the same level as a business strategic topic, then it appears that it was interesting to use the same tool that finance use. So we have the same technology, same software internally, so that it allows us to do not only measure the impact of last year's, but we do more and more forecasting, prevision, scenario, so that the different layers of the company can understand what would be the P&L impact of a future collection, of the development of new product. And I think this prediction is interesting, and it goes also with the fact that the designer, the development is a part of the solution, but the consumer is also another part of the solution. And as we discussed around the role of technology in that, I think that the same way technology help you predict what the clients will want to buy in terms of styles, articles, and somewhere. In the same way, we should use the technology to allow the customer, the client, to have more information, more disclosure around the product itself. So where it has been made, what it's made of, what's the real cost, the real impact of this product to refine his purchasing decision.
Mm. Yeah, thank you very much. That was a great addition. Okay, so now we open it up for the audience for questions, and maybe Ebba can help with one of the mics, and I'll manage the logistics of the other mic. So questions, please. Oh, over here.
Thank you. I have a question to Elin. You mentioned in your introduction that H&M aims to be climate positive by 2040. Is that true?
Yes.
Can you develop that, and can you explain to us how that concept is compatible with such a global company as H&M?
How
the concept of being climate positive is compatible with a global company as H&M.
Yes, so we would like to use our scale and our size in order to create a big change for the fashion industry, starting with ourselves. And we don't know today what kind of technologies will help us getting there, but we invest a lot in innovations. For example, H&M Foundation invest a lot in startup innovations that can help us closing the loop. So working with new materials, new marketplaces, better allocations, machine learning, AI, there are a lot of possibilities. We don't know the solution yet, but we have the strong vision, and we invest a lot in innovation and research to go there. So that's as far as I can go today.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
Hi, my name's Holly, and I'm from the Sustainable Apparel Coalition. I had a question for François. I think you, firstly, compliment you on the work that you're doing with the environmental profit and loss. I think that's really revolutionary way to approach it. I was just wondering, how do you weight environmental impact into a monetary scale? So how do you say this amount of CO2 emissions equals this? How does that maybe that's a really complex or really simple question, but how does that work?
So we have a very nice 300 pages report if you want to go through it. But just know if I try to be brief, we cover 6 different categories of impact: air emissions, greenhouse gases, water use, water pollution, land use, waste. And with all these different categories, you have a specific methodology, a specific approach. So if we take CO2 is the easiest one because we have a lot of different studies around the social cost of carbon, and so to have a cost by tons of CO2, it was like an epidemiological approach. So just considering all the studies, having some criteria. So the study has to be 3 or 4 years old. We took like the median of the different prices. So this one was quite easy. The other ones, if I take air emission, for example, is based on the fact that environmental impact has a cost to society. So when you release pollutants in the atmospheres, particulate matters, NOx, SOx, and so on, you induce a physical change, which is the concentration of the particle in the atmosphere. And this will drive impact for society. So based on where you are, where you emit your pollutants, the demographic, the density of the population, and you will increase the risk of developing, for example, disease linked to this pollution. You will reduce the productivity of the agricultural activities that you have around. You will reduce, something very concrete. When you had this peak pollution in Beijing, you just reduce the visibility and the plane can't take off. So this has a cost for society. And this is how we monetize the cost. And so, of course, it's a different approach based on the different impact area. And it will be a different euro unit per region and per process. So it's quite complex, but that's the idea, really. Cost to society, cost to people.
Yeah. Thank you.
Or here?
Thank you, all this creative board of new visions. It's very interesting to hear what's going on and to understand some of it. And it's a very complex question, as I understand, because overproduction, as we all know, is one of the factors. But if we go back behind the overproduction, we also have the people working who need to make their money, and we are a planet of growing individuals and more people who need to make money. So how can we look at money in this context of, would a slower production for H&M, where the prices are maybe higher, would that make a solution also for the overproduction? Or I don't even know how to ask this question, because I understand the complexity of it, but I don't know how to really approach it. But I think it's important that we bring in the need, the want, the wish for more money. Our greediness as human beings, as well as creativity. And how can we look at the money in a way that would be more sustainable for the planet?
What you're saying is very interesting. How we can slow down the pace of the industry and still be as profitable. So we have a research project going right now where we go the opposite way. We try to speed it up. But we're doing it with very circular materials and in processes very close to the customer, and where we're using renewable energies such as solar to drive these processes. And the materials that we're using, they're fully circular, and they have very, very low environmental impact. So in this research project, our idea is that we embrace consumer behavior, because we behave as humans, and it's difficult to impact human behavior. And we like things, humans. Some of us are able to say that, no, I'm not going to buy this because it's bad for the environment. but the most people, they are just buying and indulging in fashion. So we thought, okay, people are acting in a bad way. Let's help them in their bad way and give the best possible product for that behavior. So then we come up with this idea that it's all based on the Japanese cherry blossom, how it burns and dies and decomposes. So that's our approach. So we will, yeah, it might seem strange, but we take on this by making even faster fashion, but fashion that doesn't have a negative impact. Maybe you're not satisfied with that, but this is the way we're going. Yeah. So we started to build a machine now. It's a 3D printer, and we have also got some fundings for developing the materials. So I think it's going to be interesting to see in a couple of years what can happen. Do you want to piggyback on that?
No, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think either that speed could be an obstacle for circular fashion at all, going into a climate positive system. That, I mean, that's not an obstacle if you have a climate positive system, I would say.
Marilyn, do you want to say something maybe? No?
No, I mean, what you said is really interesting, because one of the, I guess, solutions that we're exploring, because as I was saying, it's like in an ideal world, what we're trying to find is that no product out there is a wrong product for customers to buy. So, and then you have all these questions emerging, like, does that mean that we have to kill fast fashion? Is that the end of fast fashion? Like, what is happening? Is it just going to be, like super slow fashion where you just buy something and then repair it, and then when you cannot wear it anymore and you cannot be repaired anymore, it goes back inside. So, I mean, there are different ways of approaching it, and one of the ways that we were saying is like we don't want to kill anything. So it's not about killing fast fashion, it's about how do you make sure that fast fashion, if it's going to be fast, that is not detrimental for the environment. So meaning that if it's going to be fast, maybe you can make it with biodegradable material. So then at the end of the use of your shoes, you can just dig a hole in your garden, and then it will act as fertilizer at some point for the plants. And actually, Adidas and Puma, I think, are like exploring that already, like with biodegradable materials for their shoes. So we are not far off of this art of possibility. Of course, there are like 1,000 questions about how do you scale it up. Like when you were saying how you were experimenting with Piñatex, it's like how do you scale it up? And those are open questions for sure, and there are no answer right now. And it will all depend on which business you are on, which area of the value chain you're working with, and who are your customers. So there are loads of open questions, and that's the interesting part of where we're at right now, is because there are still no answers, which means that we can craft, what's coming. So yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless. So it's not about particularly killing aspects of the system, is how do you make it work better for the future.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from the audience? Or comments, perhaps, is also welcome. Yes?
Thank you. This is a question for François. My name is Elin. I'm a student at Esmod International. I know that recently you published a program you made with Stella McCartney and one of the bag productions in Kenya, and how the socio-economical aspect of that is really interesting to me, because I think that educating emerging markets are important today, especially in luxury, because educating about how luxury can be connected to sustainability and how it can be incorporated is not only a top-to-bottom decision, but also a bottom-to-top. And therefore, my question is, like, from the socio-economical perspective, if there will be more initiatives taken by Kering in that direction? And with that, thinking of places like India, for example, with an emergent middle class.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I mean, social is a key part of the sustainability approach. As I said, the three pillars: the care for the planet, the collaborate for people, create for the creativity. And so you name one example that Stella McCartney launched. There are many different examples. I think the key issues we have is around, as you said, is around for some factories is around working condition, and in parallel, what would be the fair wages for these activities. After we have, let's say, more positive approach, like you said, the one in Kenya, and especially there is an entire different work that is done. So. Not directly by Kering Sustainability Department, but more by the foundation around empowering women, because we have a lot of women, both at customer level, internally as workforce for Kering, and even more for suppliers. So there is a lot around education, health, and a lot focusing on women also to develop this social aspect. Even if today the kind of tool we develop for environment, for EPNL, it's not on our target, at least for now, to develop the same social thing, because we consider that on the environmental side it was not clear where the hotspots were. So it was, I mean, there was an interest to develop such a tool at first, but on the social side, we are quite clear on where we should act. So we don't need to spend resource and time on building this complex methodology that would be even more complex than the environmental side to focus on the concrete actions.
Okay. Thank you very much for that answer. Are there any more questions? No? Okay, so it's 3 minutes to go. I would like to take those 3 minutes to ask you if you have any last comments or questions or things that you would have liked to said during this panel discussion. And if you seem to be rather content.
Thank you for the organization and the discussion, and for you to be there, of course.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to the embassy and the Institute for arranging this. I think we covered most aspects of the value chain. When I walked here this morning, I realized I haven't got any questions on raw material, but you covered that very nicely. I think we have the customer here, we have the design aspect, manufacturing aspect. We don't have the logistics aspect that much, but the logistics cost is just 2%. Next year, yeah, I'm building my little robot car, yeah. Yeah, next year we will talk about the robot car. That will help us a little bit more. But I think we covered the most aspects of the value chain. We've also talked a little bit about how we can, scale technology, how we can impact the consumer, some things about how we can impact the policymakers. So I'm very happy with this, and Clemens is starting the applause.